Hi, I'm Jay Tinglum. I'm an audiologist at ADCO Hearing Products, here to introduce you to the Sennheiser 830 unit. So we've got one set up over here by the TV. So it's basically a two-piece system. It has a transmitter and a receiver. The receiver has got a large volume control on it, very easy to adjust back and forth. It's got a rechargeable battery. It recharges just by sitting in the cradle. Now, the biggest benefits that people have from these, one of the biggest benefits is sometimes to the family members. When this is hooked up, it's independent of the volume control on the TV. One of the ways that we sell this, people come in and their family is complaining that they've got the TV up too loud. And so in this case, what they can do is having it connected to the audio outputs on the back of the TV now makes it independent of the volume. So whether there's any sound coming out of the speakers at all, you're still getting a full transmission to the headset. Another one of the user benefits is by transmitting the signal from the transmitter directly to the receiver, the sound quality is very, very clear. So they have their own volume control and they're getting a much more clear signal than if they were getting the sound coming from speakers to their ears.
Does it come, you've got one there that looks like a stethoscope. Say I have a T-coil or I just had a cochlear implant. How would that interface with that?
Okay, so there's a different model called the 830S model, and the S model uses the same transmitter but uses a little different receiver. In this receiver, it's got a neck loop built in, and so you can put this on. The neck loop is going to create the induction signal up to the telecoils of the hearing aid or a telecoil in an implant processor. In addition to this, you can also unplug the neck loop. You can take the neck loop off and you could plug in headphones as well and listen through headphones.
Okay. Good. So how does this all interface with the TV? You mentioned that there is a plug set up to get the audio out.
Right.
How does it get to that the receiver? I mean, what kind of signal is it?
Okay, the 830 model is an infrared unit. So it's broadcasting the sound superimposed on an infrared light wave across the room. This, because it's a light wave, it does have to be in line of sight between the transmitter and the receiver. It has about a 30-foot range. But anywhere within 30 feet of this transmitter, you should be picking up the signal, getting a very clean signal.
Okay, and what about, is there a different way? Is there a different source that transmits? Say like if I've got, multiple rooms I want to work in or things like that.
Right, right. So there's another model. This is the 830 model. The Sennheiser also makes a model 840, and that's an FM radio wave based system. So FM radio waves, they do go through the walls. And the transmitter has a range of about 100 feet. So anywhere within 100 feet of the transmitter, the FM receiver will pick up that signal. So a person can go to the kitchen, the bathroom, the backyard, downstairs, anywhere within 100 feet of the transmitter, and they'll be picking up the signal as if their ear were pressed right up against the speaker of the TV.
Wow. How about a stereo? What else? Would this hook to a stereo?
Sure. It has your standard RCA plugs. That's the most common kind of connection. So you could plug it into the back of a stereo. It also comes with a phono jack, so you could plug it into the earphone jack of a computer and listen through the computer. You could plug it into an MP3 player, anything that's got an audio output jack. We can plug this in and transmit the signal.
Okay. And what kind of range does this have? I mean, you mentioned earlier that the sound quality is superb.
Right.
Talk to me about the technological stuff related to the range.
Okay. All right. So with the infrared units, they have a range of 30 feet.
Right.
So anywhere within 30 feet, we'll be picking up that signal, and it'll come in very clear. And it doesn't matter if you're 1 foot away or 30 feet away.
Okay.
The signal has equal quality throughout the entire range. If we go to the FM system, again, that's got a 100-foot range anywhere around the transmitter.
Okay, now I read in the brochure there's ways you can deal with compression and other things like the really loud advertisements on TV and stuff.
Right.
How do you do that, and how do you set that up?
Okay, and that's one of the features that really differentiates Sennheiser from some of the other brands. Sennheiser has got, on their 830, 840, and their 900 models, they've got controls on the transmitter. This button in the front, when we have no lights on, we're just doing a straight transmission. When you push the button here and get the first light on, it's adding compression. And the compression is going to keep those commercials from being too loud, so it's going to bring the top end down a little bit. Pushing the button again and going up to the second light, now we're getting high frequency emphasis. And there is a screwdriver adjustment on the back of the transmitter, and you can adjust anywhere from a flat response all the way up to getting 16 dB a gain out at around 10,000. So really a very steep filter slope on that, and we can really meet the needs of people with even a pretty precipitous high frequency hearing loss. The third control on this when we get up to the top is a combination of both high frequency emphasis and compression.
Okay, great, great. So this has a rechargeable battery, I assume, or how does that work?
This one uses a lithium-ion rechargeable battery, and some of the characteristics of lithium-ions, they're very lightweight. They hold a good long charge to them. These would be rated to hold a 9 to 12 hour charge between recharges, and they also recharge very quickly at a rate of about 3 to 1 or 4 to 1. So if somebody puts the recharger in, puts it back in the cradle for an hour, they'll get about 4 hours of use time.
Okay, and there's a slot on the side for another battery. Is that something you can run at the same time?
There is. So you can have a spare battery sitting in a charging bay on the side, and this is a smart charger. So it will give a full charge until it brings it up to the full amount, and then after it's brought up to its full charge, then it drops down to a trickle charge. So it's safe to leave it in the charging bay at all times.
Excellent. So if I'm a patient of an audiologist or dispenser, how would you demonstrate that to me if I just walked in the store? What would other than the conversation we just had,
okay,
what would you have them do to experience the sound?
All right. So just like so many hearing aid appointments, we do want them to come in with a loved one. So if they're there with their spouse, that can be a particularly effective demonstration, because as we have it now, there's no sound coming out of the TV whatsoever. And then we'll ask them if which style they would prefer, and if they were going to wear these. So we'd have them put these on. Let me just mention another thing with this. On here, the on and off switch is in the bows. So as I'm pulling these apart, that's turning the headset on. Anytime I take it off and the bows spring back together again, that's shutting off the receiver. So we're preserving battery power. So the earpieces here are on a little toggle so they can adjust a little bit for maximum comfort. So they go into the ears. Then we ask the person to adjust, turn the volume up till they get to a point where they can hear the TV comfortably and clearly. Then we ask them just to walk around a little bit. And they can walk around the room, and they'll see that even though their back is, their back is to the transmitter, they're still getting a good signal. And that comes from these infrared light waves being able to bounce off the ceiling and the walls. So we can almost completely cover this and still get a good signal from it. Then, as they're doing that, and they're listening to this, I want to remind these people that there's no sound coming out of the TV. And that usually creates some eye widening, because they know that they're getting a lot of complaints from the family for having the TV up too loud. So to know that there's no sound coming out of the TV, and we might ask them to take the headset off, and they hear there's nothing here, they put the headset back on and hear the clarity. We might also adjust the controls on here, just to see if they can tell the difference from some of the controls that are going on. We might also then have the spouse come up and adjust the volume control in the TV. So they might come up and just hit the TV, get the volume up a little bit to where that's comfortable for them. We'll get rid of that background noise here. So they can adjust that, so they can bring it up to what's comfortable, and then again we'll let the user put the headset on and recognize that as they're turning their volume up and down, it's not affecting what's happening to the speakers of the TV. And likewise, as the spouse is adjusting the speakers of the TV, it's not affecting what's being broadcast through the transmitter.
Mm-hmm. Tell me about the warranty on this product.
Okay, Sennheiser puts a 2-year warranty on all their products here. They've been very good at taking care of any problems that they've got with these. We also offer a 30-day return period, so we want to make sure that people have an ample opportunity to try and listen to a variety of different shows, their news shows, their TVs, movies, music. We want to make sure that they have a good opportunity to see that this is working the way they'd like.
Okay, and you've been selling these for years, Jay. What's the process if somebody does have an issue? obviously that's one of the great things that ADCO offers is you and your expertise. So you would encourage people to call you and figure out how it works?
Absolutely. Sometimes the hardest part about this is just getting the transmitter connected to the TV. And there's a couple of different ways we can do that, but we can walk them through those kind of problems. And then we can also troubleshoot anything that might be going wrong with this. Sometimes people have forgot to put the battery in the headset. Sometimes they don't know that they've got to turn the volume up. So we can troubleshoot problems for them. And in addition, if there's something that I can't answer the question for, Sennheiser has got a very good technical assistance team, and they really understand these, and they know a lot about the different TVs too. So if we come to a complex problem in connecting these to the TV, the technical assistance team at Sennheiser will really help.
And you mentioned earlier when we were talking before we started this that there's one difference between the SET 830, which is infrared, and the FM, and that has to do with plasma TVs.
Right.
What's the issue there?
There is some kind of interference, not with all TVs, but some plasma screen TVs are generating some kind of a field that interferes with the infrared units. So if we really want to make sure, if somebody tells us that they've got a plasma screen TV and we really want to make sure they're going to get a good clean signal, we might recommend that they go towards the 840 system, which is an FM broadcast. That's immune to that kind of radiation from plasma screen.
Okay, great. So this is targeted mostly towards audiologists and dispensers who are wanting to learn how to sell the Sennheiser products,
Great.
superior product. If they have any questions after they view this, what should they do?
Feel free to go ahead and give me a call. I'll be happy to tell you what our experience is and what I know about these products. And these definitely have been the best seller. And I think behind phones, which seem to be the most common thing, the next most common thing people are looking for is something to help them with the TV.
All right, Jay, thanks so much.